Hey guys, if you liked the video, make sure to like and subscribe. Appreciate you. Now let's get to it. What's up everybody, it's the Average Gamer signing on, back with another video. Today I want to start hopefully a multi-part video series of sorts, talking about a relatively nuanced conversation regarding a problem that I think many in the video game community, both companies and players, suffer from, which are expectations and standards. Now I think everyone kinda knows what I'm getting at when I mention these two terms, but as I go on I'll make my definitions and stances on the issue clear. To start, I believe it would be best to give an overview of these two terms, so let's get started. Expectations. It drives many things in life, particularly when it comes to interacting with other people. One's patterns and habits dictate how they are viewed and thus how they are treated, and of course, what is expected of them in the future. And those patterns and habits are often based around one's standard or level of quality. The standard is the bar of excellence, and expectations are the odds one meets that excellence. And both of these things are dynamic and change as time goes on, based on what someone does and or how they prove themselves in terms of deserving higher expectations because they set a new standard. However, when it comes to expectations and standards in video games and the gaming industry, I think fans show a lack of understanding when it comes to this concept. Whether it's bias, nostalgia, naivete, or just hard on hopium, I notice consistently that video game fans don't place proper expectations for upcoming games and titles based on the standard companies have proven to have set for themselves. Now again, this convo is very nuanced, which is why I want to do more than one video about it. But for this part one of sorts, let's discuss scenarios where fans clearly and undeniably, at least in my opinion, had way too high expectations, and I hate to do this because the fans have suffered quite enough, but let's talk about Overwatch 2. To start, I want to be fair and say that high expectations fans had for this game did not come completely out of nowhere. Overwatch at its peak is one of the best shooters I have ever played, and gave people a more creative option than the standard Call of Duty, which is why it was received in such well and high regard, especially those first 2 years or so. Not to mention during 2019 BlizzCon, when we got eyes on what was being planned for the sequel, excitement was of course the natural response. However, as time went on, it should have been made very clear that this game was not going to be what was promised, and expectations should have lowered dramatically. Firstly, the fact that Blizzard went beyond silent for a noticeable amount of time after 2019 should have been a concern for everyone. Now, this is not necessarily uncommon, but the fact that we were getting and hearing basically nothing should have raised some eyebrows at the very least, especially because Overwatch 1 was left to die as it seemed like all the resources and attention were put into Overwatch 2, and the community was essentially just supposed to wait. Despite all of this apparent priority and attention, it took like 2 years before we got any substantial insight on what was happening with the development of Overwatch 2. Secondly, our friend, game director Jeff Kaplan, leaving Blizzard should have been a huge red flag for people. Now, Jeff never really said verbatim why he left, but there have been some leaks that many deem credible that do give some insight. Now, for the purposes of this video, we don't have to go into every single detail of the leaks, but essentially it was the same suit and tie corporate BS, profit margin above everything else, little effort for maximum dollars sort of deal, and Jeff simply wanted differently. Regardless of if the leaks were true or not, the fact that Jeff Kaplan, a man who put so many years of his life into this project, displayed a beyond passionate level of commitment to it, and always had the back of the devs, the fact that a man like that left during development, again, should have raised concerns from the player base that something bad could be going down with Overwatch 2, and thus, the expectations should have lowered. The final thing that should have broken the camel's back in terms of high expectations for Overwatch 2 should have been how the PvP portion of said game was and is being handled. Forget the game's issues at launch, which by the way PvP launched early because Overwatch 1 became too miserable. The PvP in some ways was a downgrade from Overwatch 1, most notably how the ranking system was designed. And those consistent updates and balance changes that were promised, yeah, that did not really happen as we were stuck in the same meta sometimes for over a month. And on top of it all, again, nothing was being said about PvE development. But yet, people around me in particular, and fans in general honestly, were still hopeful. Oh, Overwatch 2 is supposed to be about the PvE anyway. Oh, PvP being bad doesn't mean much because all the resources were going to PvE anyway. Just wait till PvE comes out, Average Gamer. Those talent trees are about to go crazy!
And so we're left with another difficult choice. Do we continue to pour all that effort into PvE, hoping that we can land it at some point in the future? Or do we stick with this set of values that we've aligned on and focus on the live game and focus on serving all of you? With everything we've learned about what it takes to operate this game at the level that you deserve, it's clear that we can't deliver on that original vision for PvE that was shown in 2019. What that means is that we won't be delivering that dedicated hero mode with talent trees, that long-term power progression. Those things just aren't in our plans anymore. And we know that this is going to be disappointing to many of you, which is why we wanted to bring it up before we talked about the roadmap. And to be perfectly honest, it's been really difficult for many of us and a lot of folks on the team who've poured their heart and soul into that stuff.
Now, I don't mean to be rude or arrogant, but you were kind of out of your mind if you didn't see this coming. No word from Blizzard, Overwatch 2 being in the state it was in, all signs pointed to this being a highly likely outcome. Now, before I go on, it is important for me to say this to avoid confusion. Activision Blizzard management, not the devs, management, the suit and ties, without question, failed this game and its community. The fact that they kept the community in the dark for years, despite knowing what was going on behind the scenes, is pathetic and emblematic of everything wrong with companies in the industry, primarily in regards to their greedy nature. Although this game is free to play and does have some redeeming qualities, it is, overall, nothing more than a cash grab to take advantage of people who became invested in the lore and gameplay of Overwatch back in 2016. However, going back to the topic of the video, Blizzard were showing their clearly low standards on a consistent basis, and we as a community should have responded by lowering our expectations to at least soften the inevitable blow that was thrown at us. The level of disappointment is real, and I don't want to downplay it. And yes, you should expect greatness, but you should only expect that from those who show consistent levels of it, which Blizzard really hasn't. And if you're still not sold, at the very least, lower your expectations for you, not them, you, so you don't feel extreme sadness and disappointment when these games fail. But hey, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments, and be sure to like and subscribe so I know if you guys want me to continue this conversation in additional videos, or just to show you would like more structured videos like this one in general. Again, I appreciate you for watching. This is The Average Gamer, signing off.